Kiwi Kid, how's it feel, man? You took down CLG, defending champions. What do you got to say?
Man, I just got to say it feels good. And yeah, it feels good to play a game where you don't throw to Baron. And like Apollo thought Baron was so worried, even though 4 of them were down and had a pink in there. And Sweeper was on too. He's like, clear the ward. But, you know, it wasn't there. But yeah, I mean, it's good to finally win. I guess it's kind of weird because it's just started season, so you can't maybe expect to win. But I said finally because it's been a while since the last time I played, so.
I mean, you had to face Energy in like a really heartbreaking game. Now you're up against like really tough opponents. Like, tell me about like how this team has come together. Then I asked pretty much everyone this question, but like a lot of roster changes for you guys. It's like only you and Shifter who like also stepped up super well. Like, tell me about your feelings on this team.
Yeah, like I really think this team can make it to like top 2, like for sure. We just need to keep doing what we're doing now, and we like implement a lot of new you know, intangible objectives in our heads.
Okay.
I guess maybe just like focus points, so that really helped. And like Thomas is like, man, he's a really good teammate. So, hey, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, he like really, like watching him how much he wants to win and like does for the team like makes you like want to become a better player. So, yeah, that's shout out to my jungler.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, and you think about it, right? Like, all these big off-season moves, like TSM's got a super team, Immortal's got a super team. You guys have like Shifter, who had a pretty bad year last time, and like, you know, 2 like European like ex-challenger players. Like, how have you got so much faith in these guys already?
Yeah, you just kind of need to talk to them. I don't know if I think you've met them, but once you like kind of get to talk to them, you can see like what they're really made of. So it's really nice to see.
So this team's going to go top 2. This team's going to go far. Thank you very much, Kiwi Kid. Thanks for the interview. Congratulations on the win. We'll see you next week. Of course, man. And send it over to the desk.
Thank you, Freak. A lot of confidence coming out of Kiwi Kid there after a victory for them following the loss to Energy yesterday. But a very solid game coming out of Dignitas here. And I kind of want to discuss when we look at this game, we look at CLG, we always talk about macro play out of them. Those early level ones, they excel in the lane swaps. They'll build an early advantage, and they'll use that to brute force things as a group of 5 around the map. Well, they weren't afforded that opportunity this time because Dignitas was you know, exuding a lot of pressure in the mid lane, making picks around the map, and forcing CLG into some pretty bad situations.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the macro went bad because a lot of the micro in the early game too. Stixxay didn't blow his flash early enough. Also, there were some things where Huhi's TPs were, yesterday Afro was talking about how they weren't always great, and this one was definitely more towards that, but there's more pressure on him too. There's more riding on those TPs in this composition because he's pretty much their only form of engage with a flank. Him and Darshan, you know, it's arguable, but Darshan was the one they were always pressuring on Dig's side with Smitty and multiple members sometimes.
Dyrus, it's an interesting case study because so often we look at high-level LCS players and say, well, they've all got the mechanics, right? You didn't get to Challenger by not having some level of mechanics. And then we usually say, well, the teams that are going to excel are the ones that can create the strategies, that can make the right calls in the tough situations. But this was, in a sense, an example of CLG showing that if you can't then execute, right, if the mechanics fall away for at least a moment or that split-second decision-making by an individual isn't there, then it doesn't matter what the macro decision was.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different factors that you just mentioned, and a lot of the macro play comes off of level 1 planning. It feels like Dig played level 1 extremely well. He had a really strong early game just like they did yesterday, and, you know, they followed up with their mechanics. And you know, when it comes to team composition, you kind of rely on Huhi to flank, to engage, and you see all of these like picks from Dignitas where they're like really top tier picks and they're really hard to get a hold of. If you don't get the Lissandra flank or if you make a small mechanical mistake on Lissandra, you're just stuck there getting poked by Ezreal. You know, Afro's getting charmed by, you know, Shifter. Like we have Elise Cocoon, and then for split pushing, like since they already won the early game, there's only so much Zion can do with the resources that he has.
Yeah. Speaking of the elusiveness of the team of Dignitas, we saw 14 minutes into the game, a little fight break out in the mid lane. Huhi attempts to engage on Shifter, but that Spirit Rush coming in really handy here in denying that engagement and letting Dig turn back on them.
Yeah, and it's just a slippery team overall, right? It's so hard to catch this Ahri. If you catch the Elise, she repels. Ezreal is really hard with the blue build to even keep a hold of him. But Shifter right here, when he R's away and Spirit Rushes, boom, right there. He's too far away for the follow-up, and at that point, that is a bad frozen tomb to actually throw down there. And then the pillars from Kiwi Kid this game were actually very on point. Sometimes he was pinning people, or just the slow zone was enough to make it so that the fight became scattered. And this is a composition that loves tiny skirmishes where it's 2-on-2, 3-on-3. They don't really need to be together as a unit. They can have little tiny ones on the side.
Dig really like paired together really well there. Like that massive pillar, the Elise cocoons, the Ahri charms, like everything just fits together into like one solid team fight.
Yeah, I like the comp.
Because of who he's misplay on the ult on Shifter, they lost a massive tool for them to like, you know, come back into the fight. But because of the pillar, they weren't able to do much.
Yeah, let's run down the roster real quick on Team Dignitas' side. You know, Smitty J today on the Fiora as opposed to the Malphite yesterday had a much better showing, solo killing Darshan multiple times.
Yeah, I really like Smitty J. Back when he was an EU challenger and I got to cast him, I loved him on things like Jax and Riven. And I think that the Fiora is once again another great fit for him. I don't know how much I'm going to really like him on Engage champions if he's in charge of those types of things, because I think Kiwi Kid is a fantastic Engage player himself. So Shifter, he's always had a great Ahri as well. Really good picks. And then the rest of the lineup, Kirei, kind of making up for his performance yesterday with a superior jungle control today.
Yeah, looking at, I want to kind of hammer the Shifter point, though, too. We saw the early level 3 pressure from Ahri, having put some damage down at level 2, forcing Huhi out at level 3. That was kind of the story of the game. And then the picks on Aphromoo, one after the other after the other. You probably could have made a highlight montage, you know, 4 minutes long of just Ahri charms landing and then netting larger objective results. But in that interview, it was kind of interesting talking to Kiwi Kid about having young players, you know, where you're not making these big imports and having these intangible objectives. Dyrus, maybe as a player yourself, you can kind of speak to the mental process, the goal-oriented process that they're going through when he talks about, well, we've set goals for ourselves and it's about staying on track and on focus with those that'll make us a better team and let us stack up against, you know, the likes of the TSM roster.
Or Immortal, of course.
Or Immortals,
But
yeah.
anyways, like having younger players, like it's really easy to tell them what to do because they don't have egos built up, pride built up. A good example for me as a player is I never had any pride at the very start, but as time went on, it was very hard for me to adapt. And so for these players, like they're willing to do what you tell them to. And, you know, if you have less confrontation and more synergy together, it just works out better that way.
Dig picking up a solid win against CLG. Keep it tuned right here because in just a few minutes, we'll be diving into our third match with TSM looking to rebound as they take on Team Liquid. We'll be right back.
But guys, you have to remember any tilt play, just ignore it, you know, like focus what to do next, like seriously.
Yeah, no yelling.
Yeah.
Ah! It's just a game, guys, honestly. Just a video game.
Aphromoo getting in to save him. The rest, no, you gotta be kidding me.
I'm looking for Sancha. I'm here, I get it.
Sancha. Brom. Keep going. Lucian.
Okay, get him. Go mid.
The support. Oh my God, the support's going to war by themselves. And the reason we're getting fights today, ladies and gentlemen, 2 are now down. Open up a window for Dignitas. Apollo going melee range. Team Dignitas takes down CLG.